Cheryl F. Burton, and I have some exciting news to share. I'm starting my own show. But first, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am the daughter of Joel and Grady Burton, the granddaughter of sharecroppers. I am someone who energizes and inspires others just by the intimate conversations and experiences that I create. People share with me that when they leave, they feel inspired, lifted, and that something has shifted in their spirit. I believe that's my juice. I believe that's my superpower. I'm a shifter. I shift spirits and spaces, and I connect people. So my show is all about our community. It's all about minding our own business. And that's the title of the show. It will be all about Black and Brown folks who are doing extraordinary things in the world and in our community. They're changing lives and they're impacting our communities in long-lasting ways. My friends are funny, they're witty, they're creative, and we have conversations that I want to bring to you. These friends are all folks who love three things. They love good food, good conversation, and they love the Black and Brown community. So what you can expect from the show is you can expect to hear a little bit about their journey, about their successes, their challenges, things that they had to overcome, and things that really excite them. They'll also share with you some things that you can do to support their work. What I hope that you will experience is that you will walk away with some inspiration, some excitement, a flurry of possibilities about what you can do. I hope that it stirs up the gifts inside of you and that you go out and you do more in our community. And at the same time, inspire you as part of our extended family to come along, to join in. And so it's all about minding our own business. There's no better time to mind our own business. And I hope that you'll come along. Will you join me? Today's guest is one of the most inspirational, dynamic, and energizing person that I've ever met. He is a community psychiatrist. He's also the creator and founder of doingitwell.org. Please welcome the dynamic, creative Dr. Byron Young. Dr. Byron Young, so good to see you and have you on the show. Just for formalities, I introduced you as Dr. Byron Young, but I call you Byron. So is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Call me what you like.
Welcome. So before we get started with the questions, I just want to know, I'm all about in 2023 and somewhat in 2022 about healthy eating and good food. I love good food. I'm trying to eat healthier. So I want to know, what's your favorite kind of healthy soul food? Do you prepare it? Where you find it? And give me the address. So
yeah, so as you can see, I'm a robust brother, so I definitely know food. From New Orleans, born and raised. My family is just full of amazing cooks. My sister, actually, I just had a birthday party. My sister came all the way from New Orleans and threw it down. She made crawfish bread, she made gumbo, and fed me and all my friends. It was amazing. So definitely know good food. Healthy food is something we're learning. We're evolving into it. I know it's in terms of healthy soul food. I think of the spot Solely Vegan, which is opening up all over the place. A Black woman-owned vegan spot, which is opening up in a couple of cities. She got a lot of funding to open up. So I've actually had their food and delicious, amazing, like mac and cheese and vegan barbecue. Is really good. One of my best friend's moms, she's a big fan of Tabitha Brown. So when I go visit DC and I go visit, she'll cook up something, so lots of the delicious stuff that she's making is quite vegan inspired and inspired by Tabitha Brown and her movement. She just put a bunch of food in stores now in Target. So definitely I've never gotten to taste some of that stuff. Sadly, I don't cook at all, but I'm working on it. I'm working on learning because, I think in order to really eat healthy, you definitely want to know what's going into your food. And so the best way is to do it yourself. But I still have something to learn in that regard. I get real busy and I eat out and I try to eat healthy when I eat out. But the best thing is, making it yourself. So I'm still working on it.
Well, tell me more about what your sister cooked, though. I mean, that sounds delicious.
Well, you asked about healthy soul food. This was not. This was New Orleans own. This was all the butters and the greases.
Uh,
Let me tell you. I'll describe crawfish bread. Crawfish bread. You take bread, of which you can use French bread. My sister gets creative, so sometimes she uses Texas toast. Sometimes I think this time she used Hawaiian rolls, and you put this crawfish cheese cream sauce on it, and then cover that in cheese, and then you bake it. It is phenomenal. So one of my favorite dishes, which she often makes, she actually got the recipe that she uses from a dear friend of mine from New York, who actually has a really dope genetics podcast, In Those Genes, also a great cook, Dr. Janine and Jeff. So shout out to her for her crawfish bread recipe. It's fed many of us. So that my sister makes amazing gumbo, of which has come down, the tradition in my family. We're from New Orleans, so it's a long line of gumbo makers. From my grandma to my mom, my sister now blessed with that. We have a very big extended family, so all the women in the matriarchs of my family can cook really well. And gumbo is like a specialty. So we put all kinds of it, name the meat, and it's probably in that gumbo. So she made that. And yeah, folks, folks from around here, I'm in Los Angeles now, so these folks, they ain't never had nothing like that. So it really knocked their socks off. It really knocked their socks off. So people still texting me about it, man, that gumbo, so.
Bad.
Got a king cake, which is a New Orleans delicacy. I ordered one. So that was kind of the birthday cake, was a king cake. So.
Oh, sweet. You had a New Orleans birthday.
I did. When my New Orleans people flew in. Yeah, it was dope. It was really beautiful.
That's great. That's great. And it sounds delicious.
Yeah.
So this show is all about minding our own business. And it's about brown and Black folks looking at and taking care of our own community. So, I invited you because I know you're up to something, and I know a little bit about what you're up to, but what are you working on right now, and working on, or what are you expanding? What do you have planned for 2023?
Yeah, let me say this in terms of connecting with Black folks and food. It was so beautiful to see how many folks came out to celebrate my birthday with me, and how much Black and brown community I have made. And definitely in terms of like, whether it's like healthy food or not, I definitely think the food is a big part of how we connect and how we get our healing. When we have our conversations, when we have those healing conversations, when we connect, when we check in, often over food, over delicious food. And so it was really beautiful to see that. So like creating space for my friends and family to come together over good food and just bond and connect, especially coming out of this quarantine, and just love on each other. Definitely a thing. I just had to say that. So food is a big part of that healing journey too, which I appreciate, even when it's not necessarily the healthiest in terms of the content. The kind of it serves as like a springboard for a lot of emotionally healthy stuff, which I really appreciate. And it feels good too. So that's
right. Communal, it's all of those things. And just a note, Byron, everyone that we invite to this show, all of my friends love good food, they love good conversation, and they love their community. And so all of our conversations are over food, whether it's healthy or not. It is the center, kind of that communal place. The table is spread. Let the conversations begin.
Yeah, I think growing up in the Black community and having a very big extended family, I could think of so many times when my mom would bring me, my sister, and a bunch of cousins out to eat. And it was like, that was our special time. We didn't have a lot of money, but like one way that, poor Black folks could get a taste of the nice life, you get paid on the first, and on the second, you go into the nice, in New Orleans, it was like going to Copeland's or Raisin, what's the spot? Copeland's had another restaurant that I used to love. I can't think of the name of it, but lots of really delicious restaurants and kind of a taste of the high life. Like we didn't necessarily have a lot of money to do that often, but when we could, we would go out. And it was definitely some of the most fond memories are exactly what you said, over good people, over good conversation, and good food. Yeah. So I definitely, it is very important to me, like in a very serious way. Yeah. And I'm a conversationalist, and, over good food is where I learned how to do it. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So what are you working on in 2023?
What am I working on? So I tell you, personally, I'm working on working through my procrastination. So that's one thing I'm working on personally. I'm definitely working on that. But in terms of the work I do, so I work currently for Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, and I work for a really cool part of that organization focused on kids and families in foster care, so specialized foster care. So basically consulting with the clinicians who work with those kids around diagnostic kind of expertise and treatment planning. And so making sure that those kids who are often misdiagnosed and mistreated, that they get quality care, right? So that's taking diagnosis away, adding a more appropriate diagnosis, that's taking medications off, or maybe adding a more appropriate medication. That's one thing. And also getting to see those kids as an outpatient primary psychiatrist. I actually, it's rare to have a Black male child psychiatrist. We actually have two. So shout out to Dr. White, who is also on my team. We have an amazing African-American nurse. Shout out to Nurse Stacey Ray, who's phenomenal. And a host of Black and brown therapists, all many folks from the community. So I'm really enjoying that work.
That's rare.
It is very rare.
That's so rare. I mean, gosh.
Kids feel it. When I go, because we get to go do field work, so we get to go into homes, we get to go in their schools, and the kids connect. I'm very intentional about bringing myself to my work. So I wear my sneakers. I got a pretty fly sneaker collection. I wear, I wear my dashikis, or I might wear my like HBCU t-shirts. Shout out to Xavier University of Louisiana.
Yeah.
So I bring myself to that space, and I think those kids connect and they feel it, and they kind of hopefully see a reflection of themselves in it. My sneaker collection is often a topic of conversation, which is a way to build rapport and connect. And so I really appreciate that. So I am definitely in my calling in that regard, in my primary job. And in that job, I actually get space to do some of the work I was doing outside of my job historically, which is community educational work. So using art particularly to spark kind of critical thought around social justice, around mental health. And I get to do that out in the community and have some protected time within this job to do it, but also still do it on my own under my doingitwell.org business. And so it's really cool. It's been really fun. And so I've been doing a lot of that. I've pivoted from I do that with schools, community organizations, youth groups, parent groups, but I also started to do it with some companies. So like some tech companies, like the Black ERGs of, Google, Airbnb, Meetup, talking to folks at Netflix. So that's been really fun. I've been consulting on movies and TV. So kind of adding psychological expertise to movies and TV, whether that's like the psychological expertise for like kind of how characters respond to stress, or whether it's psychiatric expertise if you have a character who is a psychiatrist. So I've really had a lot of fun. I'm having fun. I'm having a lot of fun. So doing stuff like that.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So I could go on, but yeah, there's a lot of fun projects, and always thinking about working at the intersection of mental health, social justice, and art. That's always where I like to. That's my lane. I love art and have since I was a young kid. That sense of expression is beautiful to me. And also, I think art serves as a way that brings everybody in. Everybody's interested in the creative, and so it's a way to kind of even the playing field for who comes. Everybody can come and connect through art, and then hopefully have critical conversations, which I think is the way that we heal. The way that thinking about ourselves critically in a world, particularly as Black and brown people, when the world tells you you're not worth thinking about, or your thoughts and ideas don't matter. It's a place where you like critical thinking is like how you rise above that. They took a lot of it out of the schools, and it's not necessarily the cool thing to do. So I'm trying to make critical thinking cool, and taking every opportunity I can to do that.
Right.
Having mentors like you, I gotta give you your flowers. Mentors like you definitely helps me progress. And you've been one of those people who've been very inspirational in terms of like how many creative ways of impact can I make. I'm still impressed by the stuff you did with Sesame Street and the work that you do. So like you're definitely one of my heroes out there. So honored to be here.
Yeah, you said a couple of things that really struck home for me as a clinician, that you're making mental health and wellness and healing accessible to children, youth, and our communities. And they see you, and they don't see that white coat. They see someone who looks like them, and then you bring art into it and that creative expression. I've been a fan of yours since I met you, just because what I think you do is you make everything around wellness accessible. And it's a beautiful thing, but also it's rare. And one last thing, you said that thing about medication, and we're just all overprescribed when it comes to medicine in general. We're always given the kind of the highest dosage, the ones that may not be the best for our health, and so there you are training clinicians and other people around diagnosing and prescribing medication. My God, thank you. Thanks for what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's important. There's so much data to support that our people get the, the short end of the stick. We get misdiagnosed more, we get mistreated more. I talk about this all the time for African Americans. So, you have mood disorders, you have psychotic disorders. That's two areas. And so if you have a mood disorder, you can have psychosis with a mood disorder, but you can also have a psychotic disorder where you're psychotic. And so oftentimes the trajectory of how you treat those things, the trajectory of how your life will be after is very different. But when you have African Americans who have mood disorders with psychosis, they are often labeled as people who have a primary psychotic disorder, and the trajectory of their life takes a very different turn than it would have turned if they would have gotten quality of care, which starts at a quality assessment where you're sitting down, you're actually taking a real teasing apart with the diagnosis, and so that can make a big difference. And so learning that data and seeing how different the outcomes are is really, really something that keeps me inspired. And not only talking to patients and people in the community about making sure that you kind of shore up how you talk to your doctors and your clinicians and making sure that they're giving you quality care, but also talking to the medical field and having conversations around that. So I did a TED talk back in, I think, 2019 at NatCon about that, like the notion that, I'm not just talking to people in the community, I'm also talking directly to medicine, right? I have a particular educational background and skill set where not only do I need to be talking to my people, but I need to be talking to the systems that affect my people. And so very, very important to me and a huge deal. In the same with the critical thinking thing, like it's just not fair that the systems act upon us and we kind of just take it. We don't have to take it. We can rise above it. Some of this stuff is really taken from have you ever heard the book Paulo Freire, The Pedagogy of the Oppressed?
Yes, Monica talks about it a lot, but yes. Yes.
So that book, huge inspiration in a oppressive system. There's a lot of telling people what to think. So they call it banking education. And so that's how you control folks. But in a system that is liberatory, about liberation, you create space for people to think critically and have discourse. And so every program that I do is always about not just teaching and preaching, but asking questions and let's have conversation. And that's how we grow, reminding us that our minds really do matter, right? Right. Our Black and brown lives matter. Our Black and brown minds matter too, And so I think that's how you you free yourself is the thinking about things beyond, back in the days of enslaved folks, they didn't want us to think or read or whatever. And so they knew, what I'm saying? The systems that knew that's how you keep people oppressed. And so now it's we have an opportunity to rise above it. And I think thinking critically together and loving one another and loving ourselves better is how we're going to get over. So very important, seriously important.
The key ingredients of liberation.
That's why I'm the best educated, re-legislated, premeditated, dedicated, heavyweight that ever painted with blood. Not tuition without a cop's permission. I got a bot to piss in despite the opposition.
Yes. So tell me quickly. I'm a psychiatrist, right? So I think it's important to ask, how did that make you feel? Right? How did it make you feel? When you hear hip hop music, what comes to mind? Do you think about how much you enjoy it, how poetic, how powerful it can be? Or you're not a big fan, think it's kind of lowbrow, kind of wish young people would just stop listening to it altogether? What if you compared it to other musical art forms? Let's say you compared it to classical music. If you think about the value, right? You think about the value, you think about importance. When you compare hip hop to classical music, how does hip hop measure up? Even for folks who enjoy hip hop as a fun art form to kind of dance to, when you compare it to classical music, how does it hold up in terms of value and importance? I'm willing to bet that a lot of us have a bias, right? And we somehow think, for some reason, that classical music is more important. Has more prestige. And we're going to take it a step further. When you think of hip hop music, what kind of people do you envision? What do they look like, dress like, and what are all the assumptions you have about those people? And then classical music, what kind of people do you envision? What do they look like, dress like, and what are those assumptions? Now, if you take those two images, you compare those two types of people, are all things really equal in your mind in terms of value, in terms of importance? Well, it should be. And if we're really going to be impactful in under-resourced communities around mental health education, mental health care, it's got to be.
Oh, by the way, I use your TED Talk and trainings. So yes, I am a fan. I am a fan.
Thank you.
So, when you talk about your work, you talk about it in a way that It seems natural. It seems like, you have always been doing it. The door has always been open for you. You just walked in and made it happen. I'm not sure that that's the reality. So can you talk a bit about some of your challenges or obstacles that you've experienced and really how you work to overcome them?
Yeah, Ms. Bird, you caught me at a little bit of an emotional time, if I'm being honest. I think I said this. So I just had a big birthday party. My sister came out, and so it was like maybe 50, 60 of my friends here. And so I'm a little emotional about it. I'm a little overwhelmed. And so when I think about where I've come from, I think about the people that helped me get here. There's this old Drake line. It says, kind of talking about like Kobe Bryant, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym, kind of saying like, I did this, people, I did this, and I feel the opposite. Everybody was with me shooting in the gym, from my mom, who was a single parent mother, who was the only college educated woman in our whole community, who I recognized was able to go to college because her sisters who did not get to go to college, her older sisters, made sure that they protected her from all the traps that maybe, lied in our under-resourced community. And so they paved the way so that my mom could do what she did to then set a legacy for me and my sister to be able to go to college, for me to go to medical school, and do what I do. And so I'm so eternally grateful for the people in my life. And so I'm a little emotional because I feel it's overwhelmingly beautiful how these people, and I think I talk about how much I love Black people, but Black people, particularly Black women, have taken such good care of me. Mm-hmm. And so I really do feel a responsibility to my family, my friends, my ancestors in a very real way. Because I come from a place where everybody wasn't able, and I'm very thankful to have made it like this. And I feel like I have a serious obligation to give it back.
Well, one thing I was going to say, as you were saying, when I met you, and ever since the day that I've met you, and each encounter has been you demonstrate. I mean, you talk about your family and how people have poured into you and made a way, and community and family seems to be a really important, critical piece of your life, but also something that you're always acknowledging and really always swimming in the water of. And so, as you said, that you're emotional because of your, not just because of your birthday, but it's a sensitive time. You've just always acknowledged that every time, ever since I've met you, and almost every encounter.
Yeah, I feel like it is such an overwhelming feeling. I can't help but do it. And I think when every time, as a psychiatrist, I've always worked in under-resourced communities of color. And how could I not? You know what I'm saying? It was under-resourced communities of color who made me, right? And who showed me what it is to be a full human being. And, despite systems not recognizing us as such, I feel like part of my work is to remind us, no, what I'm saying? We are full, beautiful human beings, and kind of expanding these notions of what it means to be a valuable human being. I think, when you live in a stew of white supremacy, you forget we internalize anti-Blackness too. We internalize all the kind of junk that we live in as well. And so it takes, I think, critical thinking to unlearn. It's so much of growing up is unlearning. And so I really want to be a part of the conversation around unlearning some of that toxic stuff, all the things that lead to all the isms, whether it's, racism, sexism, homophobia, Islamophobia, all those things, kind of, we have to unlearn that, because no matter, even if you are in that group, you still internalize it too. It's everywhere. So it's like, yeah. So part of my work, and it's wonderful as a psychiatrist, I get this MD and I can do a lot with it. When I send an email, it means something. It has some weight to it. So I'm not trying to just do stuff from my office. I'm trying to be out here. So whether it's getting to make impact through TV or through a movie or through hosting a conversation in a space, if it's something around self-love, if it's something around reminding marginalized people that they are valuable and beautiful, if it's something around healing, I'm with it. Let's do it, And I owe that to I feel like I owe that to my people, because, I wouldn't be here without them.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Thank you for, sharing that. That's, I think we don't get enough of that. We don't see enough of it. And we don't get permission to to be totally expressive and bring all of ourselves to our work. And I guess that's what I think about you. You do bring all of yourself to the work. You mentioned that you're now working with some tech companies, with television, movies. And so, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm so very happy for you. And, if you had your choice, however, if you had your choice of anyone, anything, any company, any crew, who would you like to work with or collaborate with that would help you kind of deepen and expand and really kind of, take your work to the next level?
So I've definitely thought about this. If I could do anything else that I'm adding into my pot, and I actually got an opportunity to make a project like this. It hasn't really come out yet, but I'll tell you about it. Basically, I would like to do you know Bill Nye the Science Guy? You remember those like science shows with these kind of fun scientists? It was like Bill Nye the Science Guy was like Beekman's World. So I love those shows as a kid. I'm an art nerd and a science nerd. So that was like really, so I would love to make a show that was kind of like a Bill Nye the Science Guy meets James Baldwin, right? Where we're talking like, from a Black perspective, a community perspective, infusing like some hip hop and some like emotional health and some social justice into a show like that. I would love to create like a weekly or even a web series or something where I like in a really fun way that reflected the beauty of my folk, of marginalized people of color, back at them using hip hop, using art, using culture, but talking about topics around mental health, social justice. Let's talk about stress. Let's talk about drugs. Let's talk about relationships. Let's talk about, valuing yourself as a marginalized member of society, and doing it in a kind of fun, creative way. So if I could do anything, I would create a show like that. And basically, I was working with Carnegie to create two short 10-minute episodes or something like that, for a program where they were going to show it to kids who were incarcerated in New York. And so I've gotten to taste it. And so I would like to expand on it and make it something that was for a broader audience. So more of that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, first of all, I'm in awe, and I'm full listening to you talk. I just want to know how I can support you. How can I support you? How can the people who are listening to us support you? What ways can we become involved in the work? How can we help promote it? How can we take it on? Be some of your ambassadors.
Yeah, well, I will say you have supported me in so many ways already, not only as a person who I can sit down and talk to and just learn from and kind of absorb just brilliance and wisdom, but even in the ways that you move, that you navigate, just kind of modeling for me how things can be done. I said earlier about the Sesame Street thing, like I would be a dream to do something like that. And I didn't even know that was a thing people could do until you told me about how you got involved with it. And so being so authentic with what you do, living a very, elegant life that you live, and still being super connected to, the community, connected to the people, and holding both those things is really beautiful and definitely an inspiration for me. So you have already done that. I just want to say that. Other things, so I have a website, doingitwell.org. You can go to that website and check out some of the work I've done, spread it around, have a conversation about it. That would really be a blessing to me. If you want me to come and curate some discussions, curate some discourse, definitely down to do that wherever and whatever, particularly with my folks. So you can find all that stuff on my website. My email address is Byron at doingitwell.org. So you can definitely hit me up there if you want to reach out. And I love ideation. So if you got something, even you just want somebody to toss ideas with around some social impact, around some mental health impact, I'm totally down. I'm curious about maybe getting on the boards of some things. So I'm curious about that kind of thing. I also, in terms, I love art. So curious about kind of separately artistic opportunities like boards and that kind of thing for like art institutions and stuff, and figuring out ways to then use that to then kind of have a mental health focus. Because I think mental health is at the core of everything. Like the psychological is at the core of everything. At the core of what we talked about earlier, how we eat, at the core of who we connect with in our relationships, at the core of how we have the lens of appreciation versus not. And so, to infuse mental health in everything, particularly using art as a conduit, is a dream of mine. So any opportunity to do that, I'm with it.
Yeah. So I hope everyone in that's listening to this heard. You threw out some wonderful things and opportunities to partner with you, to engage and support you. I really appreciate you taking the time out to join us today. And I want you to come back because I think it's about to blow up for you, get even larger, and you'll have a greater impact. And because we're all about minding our own business, you're going to be a regular on this show. Thank you so much, Dr. Byron Young.
Thank you for having me. Anytime you say it, I'm here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please remember to join us and follow us at our website at www.mindingourownbusiness.com. Business is BIZNESS.